Hey there, and welcome to the Loreto House Creative Podcast. My name is Molly Finch, and I am so glad you're here. This podcast is for the Catholic career-driven woman who desires to live out her God-given vocation, paired with her passion for business, entrepreneurship, and whatever else her career and life may bring her. So with that, let's dive in. Well, hello and welcome to the next episode of the Loreto House Creative Podcast. So this is the first time I'm actually doing a recording video. So I hope you guys all enjoy how that came across. So I've said it on previous podcasts, but the name Loreto House Creative is so hard to pronounce so many times. I can't get used to it, but anyway, I'm super excited to be here. I'm finally doing another episode. I feel like I need to get into a cadence. I mean, look, I'm sitting here talking about different business techniques and the best practices of like how to do things. And then here I am like totally taking months off of doing a podcast episode. So this is a good time for me to take a step back and maybe think, okay, like clearly maybe you've overcommitted. But anyway, I'm so blessed and excited to be here. And I actually wanted to talk about today I had one of our contributors ask a question about how much should she charge per hour for her work and how should she charge for her time spent doing business tasks. And yeah, I wanted to kind of dive into that because I think that is probably super relevant for a lot of us. How do you charge for that? How do you also get past the feelings of like, am I charging too much? Am I taking people's money? You know, are my services really worth it? Like, I think there's a lot of things that go into play here. So I just wanted to today kind of dive a little deeper into that. So, when I first think about charging for your time, I think that is a great place to start for anyone's business. It's a great place if you are, let's say, trying to figure out the price of a product. You know, think about how many hours goes into making that product. And then that will help you price the product because you're thinking about like the hours of your life that you spent making this. And it'll help you kind of gauge like how much should you charge, right? I think, like I said, it's a great place to start because I think it's easy to manage. And as you get more skills under your belt, you can charge more, right? Like, you know, this is definitely something that is very, it can fluctuate. Especially it can fluctuate with just like where you're at with life. Like, you know, maybe you charge more because your time is more valuable than maybe when you were just getting started, right? Like your time, other than, you know, your skills have improved, but also you're more busy. So like, of course you need to charge more because your time is valuable, right? But maybe when you're starting out, you know, you're really trying to figure out, okay, do my customers, are they going to pay this? You know, who's the target audience? I think it's definitely, like I said, a great place to start. I don't think, now this is just me personally, right? I mean, all of this podcasting, super personal, super opinionate, you know, this is my opinion. I don't think you should stay there because I am always under the umbrella or the thought of basically all of us have 24 hours in a day. And obviously, hopefully 8 of those hours is of you sleeping. Let's say 8 to 9, as if we could get 9 hours of sleep every night, holy cow, we would be invincible. But let's say 8 hours a day is spent sleeping. And then obviously you're not spending the, 24 minus 8, you're not spending those amount of hours working, right? So, some of those hours are done with are filled up with just family time and relationship stuff. And then, cooking food. I mean, all of the different tasks. So, you take away sleep, you take away all the fun stuff in life, and then you're left with X amount of hours, let's say an 8-hour workday, to use to get people, that's what you would use as like your pool of this is how many hours I have, and so I can charge X amount of time. But then what you're doing to yourself is you're actually capping how much you can make. So what I would, this is why I feel like it's a great place to start, but you don't want to finish and end with just charging for your time, because we all have a finite amount of time each day. And as soon as you put a cap on that, then you're kind of shooting yourself in the foot, I feel like. So a little example is to help maybe understand this concept. I teach piano on the side, and I do it in the evenings. And I love it. I love my kids. I love teaching them. I love seeing them learn. Like, it's just such like a soul. It fills my soul. And I always keep it up. So for me, it's not necessarily like a monetary decision to teach piano. It's definitely something that just feeds my soul. So, taking in all of the different variables of teaching. Number one, you're working with other people's schedules, like kids' schedule. Obviously, during the school year, they get off of, let's say, if they're in private school, they get off at like 2:30. Okay. And then if they're in public school, I mean, that's like 3:34. So then here I am thinking, okay, I have to even wait to make money for my private school kids and my public school kids until 3-4 o'clock every day. And then that goes into like my evening time, right? Like, that is like time I want to spend with my husband, time I want to cook, time I want to do anything, maybe it's just not work. And I have to like think through that. So first of all, okay, my day's cut, like the beginning part of my day, I'm not even able to make money because I'm working with other people's schedules, right? Now, this goes in other factors of this is, let's say I'm driving to lessons. Okay, that's like an amount of time that I'm in the car that I can't be making money if the lessons came to me. So then I charge more for the lesson if I'm driving to them, but if they come to me, I charge less. But I physically can't teach more kids, right? Because at a certain amount, if I am booked full, then my only other option is to increase my price. And then what happens is that then people will maybe be like, well, we can't afford you anymore. So like I said, I teach piano because I love it. But I really feel for people that teach extracurriculars, because your hands are tied. Because first of all, if you're teaching kids in the extracurricular realm, you don't have that many hours to work. You're really dependent on them. And then not to mention if they get sick, if they're out of town, they have family things. And then that's another, now this is where contracts come into play, right? Because you want to make sure like cancellation policies and all of that. But for teaching piano, I am getting paid for my time to teach their children, right? I can increase the price as I get more experience, but that is very incremental. Like, that's not like this huge jump in pricing. And so essentially, I can cap out pretty soon without making like leaps and bounds in my income. Like it's small increases. So that's a situation where I am charging for my time, and I will sadly cap out. And it's frustrating, because what's the point? So you put in these hours and then you get paid the money, and then you have to keep doing it in order to make more money. I think that's probably the biggest kicker, is that in order to make money, I have to charge for my time. My time is a finite amount, and at the end of the day, you'd want to be doing a lot of other things, right? So just sit on that and like think through that, because there are ways to position your business where you are doing things that are more the income isn't dependent upon the time that you put into it. And I'm trying to remember, it's passive income. That's the word. I was having lunch with a friend like a couple weeks ago, and I was like, what is that word? It's something income. Like, it's income that just happens. Passive income. if you charge for your time, it's definitely not setting up your business to bring in passive income, because you're always, if you are not working in, with the time, then you're not going to get paid. So you're really, tying your hands. However, like I said at the beginning of this podcast, is that great place to start, great place to get your feet wet and just kind of get into that like conversation of like, I'm charging this amount and people want to pay me, or people are going to pay me for this, and kind of feeling confident in that way. Great place to start, but definitely not the place to end, I would suggest. So two other things is there's the idea of like charging for your time or doing like a flat rate. Those are different like options. And then the last thing would be just like the emotional side of how to ask for money and how to kind of do that pricing and get past those feelings of like, am I charging too much? So the first thing is, do you charge per hour or do you do a flat rate? I personally really like to do a flat rate and do like a monthly amount. If that is like, if you have like a service-based business, because I feel like, first of all, there's like this relationship that's built with your customers, that they really respect your work, they respect your time, but they also know that like you guys are working together. There's like a collaboration. I think it helps me. I personally don't like tracking my hours, especially if I'm offering a service. I think it's really frustrating, and I just would rather just do the work and move on. But if you are charging per hour, then you're tracking your hours. I think that gets kind of old pretty quick. I think a big part, though, again, about the flat rate is that it does build that relationship with whoever your customer, your client is. And they feel like they can chat with you. Now, I think that there goes into play with that. I think you want to have boundaries, because they start communicating. You have to make sure you have clear boundaries, like only communicate via email, and then you're not going to respond to those emails at all times of the day, right? That's super important too. So flat rate per month, per quarter, whatever, per 2 weeks, you figure out what amount of income, when do you need that income to hit your bank account, right? So if it's per month and that's comfortable for you, then great. Or is it, you split it up into 2 payments per month and that's what your flat rate is, but on the 15th and the 30th or whatever. So it helps build that customer relationship. And it helps it to just like flow better. Your services, they really start to respect like your services and who you are and what you're adding, what value you're adding to their business. However, some people aren't able to do that, and that's okay too. Then you have that hourly rate, right? Like you really, sometimes it's like per customer. Especially if you're just starting out, right? The second area that I think is like, especially as a Christian, as a Catholic, for me, like charging appropriately for my services, and also with like feelings of like, am I charging too much? Am I really doing enough to like warrant this amount of pay? I think that those are such like frustrating feelings, because, for one thing, if you were employed, they would pay you a certain amount and you would be doing your job. And I think that there's less of this feeling of, I'm not worth the amount that I'm getting. But as soon as you flip the script and you're the one asking for the money, it like immediately brings on feelings of guilt. And, I really can't ask for money. Like, this is like, I should be doing charity work, or I should be doing this for free or for less amount. And you start to have this like internal dialogue of, am I asking too much? I firmly believe that 9 times out of 10, you are not asking too much. If you have taken the time to really look at what your worth is, especially, and your value for like your hourly work, and just like the amount of time it takes to create what you're creating and to do what you're doing, you you need it to be at an amount that can support your family or support your goals, whatever they are. So that is totally and absolutely okay. If someone feels like you are charging too much and you feel like this is a customer or client that you really want to have like a good relationship with and you want to have them in your portfolio, then negotiate the price, figure out what works. But a lot of times, sometimes the work isn't, you can tell and you can feel like it's not worth my time. I can't charge less. This is a big project and it's really worth the amount that I'm asking for. And that's okay. You can feel confident and firm in that. And the more you do it, the more confident you will feel about it. So I just really ask it and bring it to prayer. Like I always bring it to prayer, because God and the Holy Spirit is going to show you exactly, like either give you feelings of peace of like, yeah, you're charging an absolutely okay amount, especially for the services that you're providing or the product that you're selling. And then God's going to also, show you if you really are charging too much, then that's going to be shown to you as well. I think in order to help ease those feelings of guilt, please go on Google and search for either how much, like literally how much should I charge, or search for people that do the similar thing and kind of get a range of prices and, take into account their experience level, but figure out those range of prices and then just go in the middle. Or if you feel like, okay, that's a great range, should I be at the high end of that range or the low end? Ask yourself these questions. All the pricing and what you're asking can totally and absolutely change. It is not this is what it is. As you, like I said in the beginning, as you develop your skills and hone in on your skills, you can start to charge more, right? So, looking back at what we talked about today, I would definitely start with charging per hour is a great place to start. Absolutely. It is the easiest, first step. Don't overcomplicate it in the beginning. If you want to charge per hour, then charge per hour, okay? But like I said, you can start there, but you don't want to finish there, because you have a finite amount of hours during the day. You don't want to spend all of it working, and you don't want to always to be dependent on in order for me to make money, I have to do hours of work. There are so many things in life. Life isn't all work, okay? So as you start to sit with that, really ask God maybe to show you how to juggle that and what makes sense. This moves into, do you charge per hour or do you do flat rates? And like I said, I really believe in a flat rate. If you need it to be by twice a month or monthly or whatever works for you, especially if you're service-based, it helps create that relationship with your customer, your client, and they respect you. And then as soon as you have to have boundaries, like I said, but if you have boundaries with your client, it really creates that dialogue, and you guys can both collaborate and brainstorm on new ideas versus just tracking your hours, because I think tracking hours is super frustrating. It gets really old really fast. And then lastly, go on Google and search pricing of people in your industry, because that way it'll help with those feelings of guilt. Your time is worth it. You are just as valuable as anyone else doing it. And if they are charging a certain amount of price, you absolutely can too. Ask God, ask the Holy Spirit to be in that. So then that way those feelings can be kept at bay of guilt and wanting to do work for free. Especially if you're asking for money from Catholic organizations, if you're in the Christian space and a lot of your clients and customers are Catholic or Christian, doing something for free doesn't make you more Christian or more Catholic. If you are charging an appropriate amount of money, then you are valuing who you are as a person and who God created you to be. And that can almost speak more of than doing things for free. So I would just highly encourage you to really sit with that, especially if you have feelings of guilt and frustration. Please reach out to me. I'm on social media at Loreto House Creative. I would love to just encourage and help you all feel confident in charging what you're what you're worth, and recognizing that you are doing something for someone else, and you are providing value in their life, and it is absolutely okay to charge a certain amount of money. Yes, so please reach out to me. I'd love to just like talk through it and be there to support. And if you feel like, okay, am I charging too much? I don't know, reach out to me and ask me, because I have access, or just I see a lot of different pricing, and I can see, oh yeah, that's really high, or no, you're perfect. Like, definitely charge that much. But anyway, I hope that this offered some guidance, some support, some help to just at least feel a little bit more confident. And please let me know if you have other business questions, concerns, comments. I would love to hear from you. Go check us out on our website at www.loretohousecreative.com. And until next time, just keep pressing in, keep bringing God into your business, and God bless.